Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I would like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Grandstream. Today's host is Ernesto Calderon, Head of North America Support. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to submit them in the question box. And at the end of today's presentation, Ernesto will definitely answer them, and we'll go from here. Ernesto, it's your turn. You are on, so please take over.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Ernesto Calderon. I'm in Boston, Massachusetts today. This is where Grandstream headquarters office is. And, this is a joint effort that we do with Microcom every other week to present new product line that Grandstream has. This week, we're going to be talking about the wireless or network product that we recently launched. I'm going to be presenting two models, the GWN 7000, which is the router, and the GWN 7610, which is our access point. And again, it's going to be about 25-30 minute presentation, and then at the end, we have a Q&A section for about 10-15 more minutes. So feel free to input your questions in the box at the bottom. Let me get started. So Grandstream launched an access point, I believe, last November. And this is the access point GWN 7610. You can install it on an existing network, so you don't need to have a Grandstream router. If your customer has an existing network with any router, any brand, then they can use the access point to connect to that network. The good thing of Grandstream access point GWN 7610 is that one of the highlights, in my opinion, is that comes with a controller built in. You don't need to have a third hardware or an external software. Everything is built into that particular access point. When you connect two or more, then the first access point is going to become the master, and the controller is going to start working from that particular device. And then the secondary, third, and other access point detected in the network will be sort of like a slave. And I'll show you a little bit about the features and how you can do that. Now, back to the highlights. It supports more than 250 clients. The wireless throughput is going to be about 175 gigabit per second. And this access point comes with 2 gigabit wireline ports. 2 because one is a PoE, obviously, so you can connect it to the network. And the second one is going to be used as a switch, so you can probably connect another IP device, or maybe even extend it to another access point, depending on your case. Coverage, we really made a lot of effort to have a high coverage of 175 to 100 meters per each access point. And obviously support a dual band, 2.4 and 5.0, with a 3x3 MIMO technology. Typical advanced Wi-Fi security, so we support every single typical encryption method, WEP, WPA, WPA, PA2. So these are very, very common protocols that other access point support. At the same time, we support simultaneous dual band, so you can have one band, one network group using 2.4 and another network group using 5.0. So we can have two different bands working simultaneously. And as I said before, it comes with an embedded controller for auto discovery. So basically, as second access point or more access points that are detected in the network, then everything's going to be automatically discovered. You, from the web interface, can see all the access points and then can start managing all the APs. And I will show you after the PowerPoint, I will show you a little bit about the web interface, so you can see how easy and how user-friendly it is. Another highlight, oh, by the way, we're going to introduce soon a GWN 7600, which is exactly the same as the 7610, but with a little less horsepower. So for a small home usage, for example, then you can have something like this. This one introduces or support only 450 Wi-Fi clients. Throughput is the same. Coverage is almost the same. The dual band is a 2x2 technology, and the Wi-Fi security features are the same. So basically all the features, software, the web interface, everything is exactly the same as the 7610, with the only difference of the amount of Wi-Fi clients, which this one can do a little less, and the dual band that you can do 2x2 MIMO technology instead of 3x3. Let me show you a little bit about how it looks like. So in the back, you have a reset button, USB port, 2 network ports, one is a PoE, and obviously the power connector. The AP doesn't come with power supply. You know, typically access point, they are installed in the ceiling, up in the ceiling, where you normally don't have a power outlet. So it's highly recommended to power the device using a PoE switch. The USB port for now is for storage, backup, for example, but eventually we have in the roadmap utilizing that port for other nice voice over IP VoIP features. That is coming, that's in the roadmap. But at the moment, we're using the USB port only for storage. It comes with a mounting, wall ceiling mounting bracket, so you can install it in the ceiling at the wall in a vertical and horizontal way. So very easy to install. A little bit about comparison. So if you compare our access point with the typical devices that they also have around the same features, but total different price range. So for example, we're comparing the GWN with the Ruckus and a Ubiquity access point. So you can see, and by the way, at the end, I'm gonna send this presentation to Julie so she can pass it along to anyone who needs it. So one of the highlights, obviously, if you see at the bottom, is the price, the retail price. The GWN is around 130, and the Ruckus almost 800 bucks, and the Ubiquity is around 150. But if you compare the Ubiquity with the GWN, we can do more clients. We can do up to 250. We can have more SSIDs, meaning 16, and they can do 4. They can do 3. Yep. So anyhow, we have this comparison chart for you if you need it at the end. Now let me move over to the router. The router, we launched it, I believe, a few weeks ago, less than a month, I would say. It's enterprise multi-1 gigabit VPN router, embedded provisioning, so you can control up to 300 Wi-Fi access points. And it comes with 7 gigabit ports, so you can have 2 WAN and 5 LAN. These are configurable, by the way. So you can have, out of the 2 WANs, my bad, there are 2 USB ports, and the 2 USB ports can be also used as a trunk. So with a LTE or 4G dongle, you can connect it in the USB port, so you can have also a third WAN. It comes with a hardware accelerated VPN that includes typical protocol TP, L2TP, IPsec, and also OpenVPN. OpenVPN comes in 2 modes, as a client and as a server, with a speed of 300 megs per second. 1 meg packet per second routing. So that's a very high, I like it, that feature, because with a small appliance like this, with a small router like this, if you ever have all the supported clients, up to 300 access points, the packet per second routing will not be affected. So 1 meg and 10 gigabit aggregated switching power will make sure that the switching aggregation is not going to be affected. As I said before, 3G, 4G LTE wireless uplink via USB dongle. So it comes with 2 USB ports, so you can use it as a LTE wireless uplink. And obviously the web interface to monitor and provision the entire network. I'll show you the web interface after the PowerPoint. Firewall, multi-WAN, speed, and integrated VPN are the key elements that the router comes with. 7 gigabit ports, as I mentioned before, 2, 1, and 5 LAN ports. Firewall typical protocols or rules, NAT, DMZ, port forwarding. So I'm going to show you that when opening the web interface. Now, so if you have a Grandstream solution, this is, for example, a way to explain the access point. You can have your existing network, you can have your existing router. Just by adding the access point, you can increase the Wi-Fi technology in your customer's environment. You can have, again, depending on the model, up to 50 access points altogether, controlled by the access point itself. Remember, if you want to use a Grandstream router, then you can have up to 300 access points. Easy to manage. Now back to the router. You can see the back of the router, the peripherals, 2 ports, 2, 1, and 5 LAN ports, a reset button, and the power button. You can connect 2 routers via VPN. Remember that we support PPTP and L2TP IPsec. You can have 2 routers in different locations, different branches, so then you can create a VPN and connect both networks together. And the VPN can be shared across 1 or many different physical locations through multiple routers. Deployment scenarios. So now that you know that Grandstream obviously is making network products, typically we make IP phones, you know, IP surveillance, UCM, for example. So if you have existing customers using Grandstream as their VoIP vendor, then you can also include networking products. So new customer, for example, you can offer that they know Grandstream for phones and PBXs. Now you have the opportunity to offer the router and access point so they can have a full solution. One of the questions that we receive from customers is, okay, if I have the network product from Grandstream, what benefits I'm gonna get by using my Grandstream telephony hardware? The router, for example, can auto-detect Grandstream phones in the network and then can provide or utilize QoS automatically. So the administrator don't need to do anything. So obviously, small to medium offices are the target that you normally offer Grandstream products from either telephony or now networking with the router and access points. Oh, I think I forgot to mention that the router has one of the USB ports can be used as a printer, as a shared printer. This is a multi-floor office. Other typical scenarios where you can have 1 router and multiple access points. Remember, with the access point, you can have multiple networks. You can even create up to 16 SSIDs. And if you are controlling the access point with the router, you can have up to 300 APs. In a multi-location environment, then obviously you have 2 different buildings, which could be in different cities or countries. And by connecting both offices via VPN, you can integrate the whole Grandstream solution. And lastly, a high occupancy building, so hotel, for example, or resident buildings. You can also have this type of installations. So you can have the telephony part of it, and with only 1 router and multiple APs, you can have APs across the building, and all the access point can be controlled from the router. Retail store, it's another target customer that you can offer the product. For retail, we launch, keep an eye on the latest firmware of the router and access point. We introduce, and we're gonna keep adding more features eventually. In the latest firmware, we added an option called landing page, so or captive page or captive portal. Basically, for retail customers, you know, when they provide free Wi-Fi, sometimes they need to put a disclaimer. And when you connect to the Wi-Fi, your browser is gonna pop up with a page where you can click the agreement, and then the internet, and then you're gonna have access to the internet. So that's a new feature that we recently added. Keep an eye on the latest firmware. All right, so let me hop on. Let me jump to my web interface. So I want to show you that this is the router web page. As soon as the router detects access point in the network, remember this is transparent. You don't need to do anything. Everything is going to be auto-detected seamlessly from the router. So this is where this is the overview. This is the main page. Obviously, at the top left corner, you can see how many access points are discovered, how many of they are online or offline, how many clients, depending on the band, are connected at this moment. So you can see there are 21 using 2.4, and there are 32 clients using 5 gigs. More to the right, you can see also a access point channel distribution, very good for troubleshooting. When you have, for example, Wi-Fi signal strength issues, for some reason there are other Wi-Fi's in the area, the neighbor, the store next door, sometimes their Wi-Fi may be conflicting the radio frequency. So then you can see here what channels are being used, and then while doing your Wi-Fi survey, you can see what channels are more congested, and therefore you can come to the Grandstream router and change the channel to one that is more, let's say, clean in the area. By default, the access point is using channel distribution automatically, but again, you can also have the opportunity to change the channel to whatever channel you prefer. And the same thing for the 5.0 gigs. Down at the bottom, we have the access points. In this network, we have 2 access points connected. You can see the usage, throughput, uplink, downlink at the moment. And if you want to be more specific, if you have an access point that for some reason is using a lot of the bandwidth, then you can see down here at the bottom per client base. So you can see what this specific client is using a lot of bandwidth at the moment. Probably this is myself. I'm using Wi-Fi right now. This could be my laptop. I'm using a lot of bandwidth, uplinks especially. All right, to the right then we have the SSIDs, so you can see how many SSID you have. Again, you can have up to 16. For this particular network, I have only one SSID. And at the bottom, the traffic in the past few minutes, I believe 5 minutes, you can see the traffic spikes from 0 to 5 megabits for my one port one. I don't have any one port 2 connected at the moment. So anyhow, that's what I wanted to show you, an overview of what you can see of your network. Now, if you want to go more specific, actually, let me jump directly to the access point. This is the part that I like. Right now, this router is working as the controller. Remember, if the controller is being utilized by the router, then you can have up to 300 access points. If you're not using a Grandstream router, then each access point has its own built-in controller, which can have up to 50 or can control up to 50 access points. So here you can see automatically it's going to detect how many access points are in my network, and you can click in the discovery access point. Obviously, all discover have been linked or connected already. Otherwise, all the access points are going to show up here, and then on the right-hand side at the last column that you see actions, there's going to be a button that says link. So when you click that, then that particular access point is connected or linked to your network. So I have these 2 already. They are online. You can see their IP addresses. Very important, the firmware. If they have an all outdated firmware, you can select that particular access point and click the upgrade button. So we're gonna push a command to the access point with the firmware so the AP gets upgraded. And then if you wanna be more specific, going into a particular AP, you can see the status, firmware group that AP belongs to, uptime, so you're gonna see more information. Link speed, so remember the IP has 2 access to Ethernet ports, so obviously you can see that one is connected and the second one is not connected. Oh, up here. Okay. The bands are supported, how many channels, so you're gonna see a status of that particular access point. For users, you can see all the clients that are connected at the moment. And for configuration, you can configure that particular AP. You can use, right now, obviously we're using a dual band frequency, but you can be more specific. You know, you want to say, you know, that IP that is in my warehouse, that I need more signal, I need to use 2.4 as an example. Or you can let, obviously it's recommended to use the dual band, so you let the client decide what band to use. And then you can be more specific with the bands. You can select different type of modes. Channel, remember the channel allocation. By default it's automatic. Oh, right here. Or remember, if you're doing a Wi-Fi survey and then you confirm that one particular channel is overloaded in that area, then you can be more specific and select a particular channel. Radio power by default it comes with the highest, but in some cases you don't want to provide Wi-Fi to your neighbor, so you can reduce the radio power over here. And the same thing applies for the 5 gigs band. Okay. So any changes, any configuration that you apply to the access point remember we are in the router web interface, but any changes that you make here, then these settings are going to be pushed to the access point so it can be applied. Menu for the clients, so you can see obviously every single computer that is connected at the moment to the network. You can even put a name if you want to kind of remind yourself who that MAC address is. And you can see if they are connected wirelessly, what band they're using. And when you click on edit, then you can enter, as I said before, the name of that particular client, or even assign a particular fixed IP address. I don't want to be too much technical, so I just want to only give you an overview of what you can do with the web interface. My customers, they're coming from other brands. For example, Ubiquity is one of the brands that is more competitive with Grandstream network product. So the web interface is very similar to Ubiquity. So your Ubiquity customers transitioning to Grandstream are going to have almost zero questions. Everything's going to be almost the same. Web interface is going to be very similar, and feature-wise, we support almost 100% of the same features as they support. Of course, we have more. Remember, as I said before, we support more clients and we support more SSIDs than the other vendors. The network groups, this is where you create your networks. In this example, I have only one network. You can have the office network and then the guest network, for example. For the guest network, you can assign 2 or 3 APs that are in the reception or the front part of the office, as an example. And then in the office network, you can assign the rest of the access points. This is in the device membership, is where you allocate the APs. Lastly, maintenance, so typical things, upgrade, time zone, and syslog. So troubleshooting, you have all the tools to troubleshoot this. There are, remember the router comes with a USB port that you can connect your USB stick, and some of the syslog can be exported out to the USB port. In user management, you can create multiple user agents, user ID, sorry, to manage the router. And I skipped the router part of it. So what I was showing you before is basically the access point management interface. Now this is the router part of it. So you can see here the specific status for the router, port 1 or port 2. You can configure the ports. Remember that you have port 1, 2, and there's an option in global settings that, failover. So that's one of the nice features that we support, failover, because we have 3 ones, remember 2 Ethernet and 1 USB. Then we have this type of multiple one option. So we can failover, or we can do a load balancing plus failover. If you select the first one, for example, then you can say automatically the router is going to failover from the first one to the second one. However, if you want to use a failover only, then you can be more specific. I want my primary to be, then you can say port 1 or port 2, and then my secondary is going to be the other one. If you have a third one, which is the USB, then it's going to pop up in the list. So then you can choose who is going to be your failover. Back to the one ports, let's see. Obviously, we support the DHCP, static IP, and PPOE. We support IPv6. For tunneling, we support the typicals, protocols, 16.4, and LAN ports. So in the LAN, if you enable the LAN 1 port, that's, remember, the router has 5 ports for LAN ports. One of them is labeled as network port. If you turn that on, then you can convert that particular port, I believe is the last one, number 5. You can convert it into a network port only. And you can do port mirroring as well for troubleshooting. All right, so I don't want to be too technical. Just want to show you the web interface. We support static route, QoS, DNS, so every typical features that any router of this type of, I call enterprise router. Most of the features typical in other vendors we support it. I just want to give you a little introduction of what you can do, how the web interface look like, and I hope that this is gonna cover your expectations. And in a few minutes, we're gonna jump into a Q&A. And again, if you need more specific information, check with Julie. We have other people in Microcom that they can connect you with Grandstream support or Grandstream sales, so they can send you more marketing documentation or troubleshooting guide, user manual for the network product. So we have that information available for you. Let us know when you need it. All right, so having said that, Julie, let's open the chat so I can receive any questions, so I can help you with questions. Feel free to send it in the chat panel at the bottom of your panel.
Thank you very much, Ernesto, for that wonderful presentation. And it looks like we do have some questions. I have them up on a screen, and I'm going to read them to you. I'm going to go ahead and start with the first one. First question is, Has Grandstream set up another course date that Microcom can offer yet? Not sure if that's been set up, but that is the question.
I don't know the answer of that. I do know that we have a lot of trainings with Microcom set up in the future. So we can check that, Julie, up there, and we can pass that better answer later on.
Thank you very much. No problem. Let me go on to the next question. How is the AP working in real-world environments? Do you have any white paper studies?
Good question. We do have a lot of white paper for any Grandstream product. For this particular AP, which is a brand new device, I need to double check, but internally we do have something. If you go to the access points section on our website, we normally include all the white papers there, or case studies, for example. I need to, actually we can check that quickly right now. In the meantime, I was gonna say that it's a simple access point. It's very easy to use. It's you can use it for any type of customer, as I showed you in the presentation, from retail to offices, small office or larger office. But right here, normally we have white papers on this section. We have some case scenarios, so yeah, go to our website, and there is a document with some case scenarios with the GWN. And again, it's a new product. Eventually, we're gonna have more white papers on this particular section of the website.
Fantastic. It says AP looks very promising. Is the GWN 7000 available already?
It is, yes. Microcom should have it either now, or it should be coming in the mail. It should be shipping at the moment. But I believe, I'm in support side, I believe Julia from sale told me that Microcom should have routers already.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I've got a couple more questions for you. Here we go. Can I manage multiple networks in different areas without the controllers? We use multiple controllers because I have multiple locations.
So if you want to manage them, yeah, no, the only way that I see it is by using the controller. That's the only way that you can control the different access points. But if you have different areas, and normally you need to have a router or a main controller or main access point with the controller on each side. So that particular router is going to control those devices. Probably the question is coming from the cloud service. In other Ubiquity or other vendors, they have a cloud service that you can control all the access point and routers regardless where they are. And that one is in the roadmap, by the way. We don't have such a feature, but it's going to be available very soon.
Wonderful, thank you. Got another question for you. Can I provide guest access or print reports through this service as an added service?
You can definitely support, that's one of the main features of having multiple SSIDs and dual bands, and having obviously a guest network, for example. If you can allocate that, yeah, I believe so. Actually, we did that over here. We added a, not in this example, by the way, you can create a network as a guest, and you can point that network to one particular application, if that's what the question is coming from. For example, as a guest network, you want them to just browse only. Don't download music or share file, things like that. So that one can be done with the controller of either the router or the AP.
Ernesto, thank you very much for answering those questions. That looks like that's all of them that I have. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact your sales rep or you can email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if anyone wishes to review the products mentioned or shown here today, please visit us at www.microcom.us. And also, please remember that this webinar presentation has been recorded, and we will upload it to our Microcom YouTube channel, so you can reference it again and view the whole thing again at your leisure. Thank you, Ernesto Calderon, very much for your very informative presentation today. And again, thank you, everyone, for joining today. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. My pleasure.
You're welcome.